it's shocking. That's the only way I can describe it. We are very, very sparsely connected. In terms of exploiting India's rise, I think there's a case to be made for that.
Interesting though, because a lot of people seem to think that we are very well plugged in with each other, but I mean, you made it very clear that we're not. So
it's as I said earlier, it's shocking. That's the only way I can describe it. Considering the proximity and the cultural and civilizational proximity as well, we are very, very sparsely connected.
Mm-hmm. So is that a problem with India? Is that a problem with Sri Lanka? Or I mean, bilateral? Where is the problem in the connectivity?
So I think both sides need to be blamed for this to a certain extent. Sri Lanka, like any small country, is unfortunately fated to be cautious, even paranoid, when dealing with larger powers. And since we are a parliamentary democracy, you have pro-US parties, pro-China parties, pro-India parties. So that becomes you have the unions involved and you have the media involved, and all of that becomes a hodgepodge of many different identities. So we've never really had a clear-cut, consistent foreign policy where we stay with a singular partner. Our partners and our benefactors keep changing based on whoever's in power here. And from India's perspective, there's a lot that India could have done, which it didn't. For example, I think we mentioned this in our last conversation as well, parity when it comes to trade, parity when it comes to openness of markets and giving us access to Indian markets and things like that. And once again, India as a regional power obviously has different strategic calculations than Sri Lanka. So for example, if a Chinese research vessel comes in, obviously to us it's not a big deal, but to New Delhi it is. And the Chinese would tell us that this is just a research vessel, so why are you guys being unfair to us? So we are now forced to play this balancing act because of strategic calculations way beyond our level of control. So that's where I think India too has been somewhat inconvenient to deal with. But once again, this just comes with the regular dynamic of a large country and a small country dealing with each other. We can't really blame any party here. This is simply how geography works. In terms of exploiting India's rise, I think there's a case to be made for that. There's a very tangible, rational case to be made here for why Sri Lankans should be interested in being Canada rather than Mexico. And I think I used this analogy earlier as well, where are we going to be a power that wants to benefit from the economic rise of our neighbor, or do we want to be forever paranoid of them and stay muddling in the middle, so to speak? Not like India's oppressing or suppressing Sri Lanka by doing that. It just happens to be a lopsided relationship that you often find when you look at trade partnerships between large countries and small countries. And this is why, even though I'm at risk of flogging a dead horse, I'm forced to keep coming back to this issue of connectivity, because this then becomes a very natural solution to the problem. Often these lopsided things, dynamics exist precisely because of a lack of connectivity. And the more connectivity we have in terms of trade, in terms of energy investments, in terms of India actually helping us become economically healthy again, connectivity will be a very natural disinfectant, so to speak, from this wound, rather than us having to perform some kind of surgery now to artificially fix the wound.